Okay, hello everyone, how are we today? I have a certain irony here, like my YouTube page says that my health is good. I'm not sure if that correlates to me personally, but here I am. How are we all today? Now, if you're having trouble seeing me, I'm here. I'm kind of hard to see. Might be the lighting, but I'm actually here today. But I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Oh, a lot of people jumping already. Hi everyone. Shalasa, Murphy, Tony, Byron, Daniel. Hello to everyone. Yeah, I'm actually not sick as far as I know, but I'm a little roughed up. It's been the first week of school term, as many of you may know. And yeah, going back to school, surrounded by thousands of kids, is a little rough sometimes. So that's why I'm dressed in my military camouflage, trying to hide from people. But it's been good. It's been good. I had my first flu shot ever yesterday. No, I didn't cry from the needle, but I was kind of sad that I didn't get a lollipop, so mixed feelings about that. But yes, I finally did have a flu shot. Funny enough, last year I was going to get my flu shot too, but I kind of had the flu before the flu shot, so didn't really need it. So I didn't need more flu on top of my flu. But I've got it today, so hopefully I should be flu-proof. If not, I will enjoy my free dose of autism, as they say. Today's archery juice is chai latte, actually. It's getting cold here. I mean, the days are warm, but the nights are pretty cold. So it's why I'm kind of a little roughed up. Just the fluctuation between the hot and cold is kind of putting me off. Yes, sorry, this is form 6 number 3. Did I put something down by accident? Yes, I would change that in a moment. I copy and pasted all the details from the previous stream. That's why it's the number 1. I would change that after the stream, but thank you for telling me, yes, this is number 3, not number 1. Thank you, Kayak, for pointing it out. Okay, so again, my apologies for the incorrect title. This is number 3. That will reflect it very shortly. Now, yes, this is number 3. I will fix that, artist. Thanks for telling me. I can't change it right now, unfortunately. Or can I? Can I? No, I'm not going to bother too much. We'll do it later. But thanks for joining me. We've got a few videos lined up. I've got 3 people who have volunteered to send in their form checks. And of course, if you have your own video you want to send in during the stream, please feel free to do so. We're quite happy to look at things live and think about how you can improve as an archer. Alright, so we'll give people a chance to flow in. We've got quite a few people coming here tonight. Interesting. What time is it over where you are? Firstly, where are you? And what time is it over where you are? That's my question for you. Post in the stream, please. Please. Oh, zip keeping. Oh, nice. You got spin wings. Nice. I really enjoyed your form check last time. I was a bit hard on you for sky drawing, which you weren't sky drawing, but I think you did a great job if you're shooting. And hopefully you did well in the upcoming nationals, I think you were doing, the youth nationals. That should be fun. Right? They should be updated. Now if you refresh the page, we should have a number 3. Very good. Play Hunter. If it were doing live, yeah, pretty much. it is so funny because like a lot of people like they kind of really struggle with live shows, and I've kind of seen that. So I don't care really. Why? It's 10:04 where you are, Tony. I had no idea. What time is it where I am? It's 10:05. That's cool. 15:05 in Latvia. 1400 hours in Play Hunter. Estonia as well. Hey. Hi, Ryan. How are you? That is really cool. Now, speaking of really cool, if you've been following my Facebook page in the last 5 minutes, you would have seen some pretty big news. I'm going to introduce you to someone very special. I'm hoping that we'll get something out of this. So, over here is a GoFundMe page. And this is not for myself, of course. This is for this young man. This is Jara Conte. Alright, now Jara was a student at my school. I think he finished last year. And during his time in school, I would say he would be called the Usain Bolt of the school. This guy is a freaking beast. I once visited his primary school for a visit, and literally every shield, every trophy, every medal was won by Jara. This is like state titles we're talking about here. At high school, he pretty much dominated every state record for every event he did. So, does it surprise me that he's been selected for the national team for the World Athletics in Finland? It does not. But holy hell, does this make me feel good, right? I just really like this photo is legit. Like I'm so happy to see Jara wearing the green and gold of Australia. So many of us who have even a passing ambition of competing and representing our country at the world level. This is like the dream, and I'm just really happy that Jara's made it. So of course he's a young man, so he needs to obviously raise money to fund his goal, and we're getting of course the students and the teachers and as many people as can to support him. This guy is seriously, he's the real thing. Like, I've seen him run. It's not even close. You know how you have the one guy in school who like beats every single person before they get off the starting line? That's basically him. So yeah, he's a runner. Yes, he does do. He's a runner. Full stop. Now, as you can see in the page, he was selected for the 200 meters and the 4x100 meter relay. So he'll be going to Finland later this year. And I personally will be donating a fairly large portion of my monthly YouTube earning to fund his campaign. Sorry, Jared, it's not that much, I know, but it will get you kickstarted hopefully, and hopefully more people will jump in. So, by the way, I have one condition, Jared. If you're watching this, I do have one condition for my unofficial NUSensei sponsorship. If and when you win your event, you must do the bow and arrow. Okay, I'm holding you to it, Jara. If you win, you must do the bow and arrow. That is your homage to your former mentor at your school. As an archer, and for the archer community who are now supporting you, that is the minimum that I expect you to do, and that's only fair. So, for those who want to donate to Jara's campaign, the link is here as well as in the description. Even a few dollars of change. I mean, I'm gonna throw in quite a bit because I can. Again, this is like the teacher's dream to see your former students succeed and continue to succeed. And I really hope that Jara raises the funds and gets the chance to make it to the big stage. One of the big things for our school is that we were so disadvantaged. We come from a very poor area, and a lot of students are from refugee or immigrant backgrounds. So this is the success story that we want to celebrate. So if you want to support Jara, please do so. I'm sure he'll appreciate it as well. He might be surprised at the number of strange people sending him money, but no one's complaining about that. And of course, I will be doing my donation a bit later as well. So that's my plug for Jara. Again, as a teacher, this is what I want people to succeed. This is what we want to see. And of course, as a coach, I want to see archers succeed as well. So that's what we're here for today. So welcome to Archery Form Checked, retitled as number 3. I have pulled my tricky editing skills live behind the scenes, but this is number 3. Now today we have 3 different people, plus anyone else who is going to send in stuff to look at. Now this is a bit earlier than usual. I normally stream an hour from now, but I thought we'll jump in a little earlier, see how people are going. Now today's selection covers 3 very different people at different stages of learning, and it's actually really nice to see where people start from, where people get to. So we are going to firstly have a look at this young man. So let's swing on over to the would there be archery questions, James? Sure, there will be archery questions later on, so we'll do that a bit later. Did he run a lot picking up arrows? Oh man, he'll probably like outrun the arrow. Like, he is so fast. This guy is seriously a machine. So anyway, back to archery. We'll go back to Jara later if you want to do Q&A with you. Maybe like one day we can like get Jara on live stream. I'd film him like running, but like by the time I press the button, he'll probably finish. Anyway, back to our stream. So we have here Luca, and Luca has just started getting into archery. As you can probably tell, But this is just nice to watch because he's someone who's, he's absorbing everything, he's getting everything new and in his mind. So he wants us to take a quick look at what he's doing and what he's doing right. So let's watch Luca for a bit, and we'll give some feedback. Once that loads, of course. Here we go. I haven't put sound on, by the way, but you can probably imagine the sound it makes. It's above crying out loud. I might turn the sound temporarily on for a bit. Just for you desktop people. I don't have it on right now, but maybe that will help a bit. I haven't put sound on, by the way, but you can probably imagine the sound it makes. I like this UPS truck in the background. They'll cut me up. I might turn the sound temporarily on for a bit. Glad the UPS is working. Just for you desktop people. I don't have it on right now, but maybe that will help a bit. I haven't put sound on, by the way, but you can probably imagine the sound it makes. I like this UPS truck in the background. They'll cut me up. I might turn the sound temporarily on. Alright, and that's the video. Okay, so what do we think? Alright, so remember, Luca is just starting out, so I'm not going to hammer down the exact form to a T. Like this is really. Am I doubled? Yeah, I thought so. Alright, we'll stop that. Okay. So, firstly, I really do like the bows in the back, by the way. I don't think these are club bows, but if they are, holy crap, that is a nice row of bows. You know how sometimes you get the feeling where when you look like an arsenal, like an inventory where you have like a medieval armory, right? You have like bows lined up on the rack. This is like the 21st century version of that. So, that's really cool to see. These bows line up like that, but that is pretty cool. So onto the form analysis. So what can we say for Luca? Now, as a beginner, he's doing a lot of things right. So I like let's watch one shot first, and we'll just pause there. So I say a lot that when people sit in photos can be deceptive because everything looks perfect in a photo. So having a still frame isn't a huge amount to work with. Seeing the shot in action tells us a much bigger story. So there are a lot of things that Luca does right. And one thing I want to really point out, which is important for Luca and anyone else who is doing archery, and that is, it is so important to get into the right mindset. And you can't see mindset, but when you teach people and when you train a lot of beginners, you can kind of see what they're thinking about the look on their face. And Luca is very clearly visualizing all the steps and is going through all the motions. Archery, especially learning at the very beginning, is a lot about repetition. We say consistency, which is true, but repetition is perhaps a bit more important because once you start repeating things, it becomes kind of rote. It becomes muscle memory, and this is what Luca is doing, and I think he's doing quite well. He's repeating the same motions very closely. The way he goes through the steps is very good for a learner. Again, a lot of people, when they learn, they tend to skip steps, and I say this is quite similar to when people do things like maths. Okay, like you feel like you want to skip the working out steps. So what I find a lot of people doing is that a lot of people will just lift the bow and pull it back right away, especially self-taught archers. There's not much time to go through all the positions, things like the set position, the pre-draw position, and drawing it back. What we like to see as instructors is that step-by-step process. You set your shoulders first, then you lift your bow, then you pull it back, then you release. Now, of course, someone starting out, it's going to be quite stiff and static looking. That is okay. Static is okay when you are starting out because you're going through the motions. One of the principles you want to be careful of is that you don't want to be too fine too soon. A lot of people try to replicate the smooth flow or that really nice follow through, but they don't have that skill level and the precision to execute fine technique. So what we try to go for is the gross motion, the general look and feel of a shot process. That's why certain things like the anchor point being loose or the release being a little limp, these things aren't that important, not at the very beginning. Later, as you learn in the next few months, you will refine these parts. But coming from an instructor teaching people from scratch, you've got to make sure they get a feel for the other motions, okay? So it's always important, and as archers rather, we always tend to be too picky on small things. So my initial feedback is keep on doing what he's doing. I'm not going to say fix this, fix this, fix this, because I think he's doing the right thing. He's going through a learning pathway that nearly all of us go through. But there are a few things we probably could point out. So let's go back and watch Luca again, because there are some things. I will point out that yes, perfect practice does make perfect. As well as repetition, it can reinforce wrong things. But to start off with, for the first few sessions, there's nothing particularly wrong with what Luca is doing. There's nothing immediately that stings out to me as, you must fix this. And that's generally a good thing. So what can we change? So, going back to Luca's video. Now, a couple of things. Now, people pointed out his grip here. Is that a little weird? No, I'd say it's a bit, for someone who's not using a sling, and is probably using a club bow, or a beginner bow at least, this is fairly normal, and you can shoot like this. Over time, especially if you start using a sling, then you find that your grip will change. And I'll show this to you live with my pre-prepared Sammy Sage, of course. By the way, quick shout out to Jara Archery from the UK. Got this new set of arrows. These are the longbow arrows. These are going to be amazing. I was getting worried I might break too many of my other arrows, so I bought a set of a dozen. And these are superb, by the way. So I love the fletchings, got some front bindings covered in Danish oil, as well as this really cool points there. So that's my quick shout out. Sorry for the noise, that was my entire set of arrows falling down. But I'm going to pick up our magical stage. So, here we go. So we're talking about, I need to find a bit of room to do this, okay? But since we're talking about grip, here we go. So the grip people are talking about with Luca is that he's holding the bow pretty much like a noob. Everyone does it to begin with, right? So you have a whole hand grip like that. That's basically what Luca is doing. And that's completely fine. A lot of people shoot okay with the grip held like this, especially when you shoot trad and you're not using a sling. That's okay. Now, normally in a lot of beginner methods, I know Archery Australia does this, they recommend the 45-degree grip like this. This is the target style of archery. So instead of holding the bow like this and gripping it, which is more likely to add tension to the bow and kind of torque it because you're doing this, in beginner instructional steps will kind of encourage you to form that V shape with your hand and put it there. Okay. Now, if you're wearing a finger sling, that goes over your fingers or your wrist, and that allows you to keep your fingers off the grip completely. Otherwise, you can keep it loose like this. So that's something you might want to try, Luca, is to change your grip from this, which is typical beginner, to this, which is more of what many target shooters will do. So that's one thing we can address. What you're doing is not wrong, but also something which beginners do. So we might want to look at that. Next, people point out the anchor. Yes, I do feel that this is quite a light bow. I can't see how heavy it is. I can't remember it in the email, but that's a light bow. So a habit which people have with light bows is a somewhat loose anchor. So you're pulling it back, you're not really feeling the resistance, so you kind of pull it back, and even at full anchor, even at proper anchor, you don't necessarily feel the bow in the right position, so it can be hard to get it on a light draw weight. But yes, what I would try to recommend a bit more is getting a tighter anchor. So you often see me do this in my trad shooting where I anchor a bit too loose, and that's not something I would recommend. Try to get it tighter. So instead of having a loose, because there is an anchor, And I know because Luca's wearing a glove, there is contact with the glove and the face. So he feels the fingers or the glove touch the corner of his mouth. That's his anchor, and then he releases. It is actually consistent enough to shoot, especially at the indoor close distances. Now, I do this as well. People say I don't anchor with my trad shooting. I actually do, but it's a light anchor. I only do so when I only feel the tip of my leather glove touch my my anchor point, and that's my anchor point. What you should be doing is making a more tight anchor. So not just the fingers and the tips touching your anchor point, whether it's mouth or elsewhere, but also try and get a much more contact with your, especially the top of your fingers. People anchor differently, but having a stronger feel, like actually pushing your hand against your face, will give you more certainty over your anchor point. When you only touch with your fingertips, you can basically put like stuff through here, and that means that's a loose anchor. There's too much lateral play, alright? Whereas if you push it inside, that means it's much harder to get any gaps in your anchor point. So that is quite important. So when you're doing with a light draw weight, then it can be deceptive because it never quite feels like you're pulling in the right place. But it's a good habit to learn now so that you get into the right habit later, right? You will find yourself improving. It's one of those small things which, as a beginner, you won't notice as much, but it does make a difference. So those are my two main things for Luca. So as we said before, we should be looking at perhaps changing your bow grip to a more of a 45-degree angle with the V shape for your hand, as well as a tighter anchor. The rest of it I think is fine. A bit of a jerky release there, but that's a consequence of learning with a light bow. You kind of do surprise yourself. Nothing too wrong with that. Let's go watch another shot. Stance is fine, by the way. Nothing too wrong with that right now. And we go to the anchor point. Yeah, I reckon it's just a basic process of the anchoring and the release. So get used to pulling in, anchor tightly, and then release. When you're a bit loose, you might find yourself jerking forward. That's a normal thing for beginners. But just work on trying to maintain a good anchor point and a flow to your shot. So that is our first video. What do you think, chat? Should there be any other advice we give to Luca? So we have two more after this, including Morton's. Hi, Morton. And again, if you want to send me any videos for this live form check, feel free to email me. Details in the description of the video. And we should be good. Okay, so let's segue into our next video then. So that was Luca. Thank you, Luca. Hopefully that helps. And we'll go over to our next person. So we've gone from make a cool looking face. Thank you, James. You know, like I've said it, I might have said it before, but Kisik Lee in his Total Archery book, which one was it, Inside the Archer, or might have been Total Archery, but he does have a chapter on the look. There is a certain look which archers have when they're fully focused on the target. So yeah, you need to have an archery face. Fully agree. Okay, so our next video, it comes from a more experienced archer, and this is Sammy. He was, I believe, incidentally from Finland. So this is Sammy. So let's watch Sammy shoot. So we've got a lot more experience talking about here. These are 3 random shots. So these aren't perfect shots that have been chosen carefully for this particular form check. It's just 3 random shots from this training session. So let's see what Sammy does. Ah, different angles. This is lovely. I love form check to different angles. Because you see things you can't normally see from the front view. The front view will probably cover maybe like 75% of all your form check needs. But these alternate views give us that extra information. It's really helpful. You can see it has that angle of draw. And it gets it quite well. But you might also notice, especially from this angle, there's a lot of shake. And I think we can address why. Okay, and that's our last shot. Good. Alright, so, what are our first thoughts? I'll go back to our full screen. What are our first thoughts? So, there are quite a few interesting things here. Alright, what do you think? Copy Dwayne Johnson's eyebrow. Okay, honest, I think you were spot on with my main feedback. That's a long hold. In fact, you see our gentleman in the background having a long hold. This is like the long hold archery club. Like everyone here holds for long, okay? So let's watch this first shot because it tells us a lot. Okay, in fact, let's see how long the hold actually goes for, right? So let's see from full draw, which is, I'm going to count from here. This is not full draw. This is full draw, but not anchor. But we'll count from here because I make a point about this technique a bit later. So let's go from when he reaches the full length of his draw, which is there. He's not anchored yet, but at 2 seconds, he's at full draw. So now he's starting to hold. It's 2 seconds. So that is effectively a 7-second hold. From this point, when he reaches his full length, not his anchor, that's normally we measure it, but he's actually at full draw now. And when he finally releases the arrow, that's approximately 7 seconds. Now, if we go to one of the last shots, we'll probably see a similar thing. So we'll go from here. That's his full draw there. He's not anchored quite yet. He's at full draw at 114. Here, let's go at 119. That's a 5-second hold. So, we're seeing a very clear pattern here. I think chat's picked it up quite well. That is a 5 to 7 second hold. Okay, so that is going to be a very big point. And you see the live chat there. Everyone's pointing the same thing. Yeah, that is a long hold. Now, on average, the hold time is around 1.5 to 2 seconds. Around there. So that when you get to full draw, that shouldn't be any more. Sorry, Olympic style. When you get to full draw, that shouldn't be more than about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. So, there's lots of wobbly and stabbing, Chris. Like, yeah, it does. True. I'll check the wobble a bit later, James. But yeah, talk about the hold. This is one thing. So this long hold is going to be a big problem. Why is it happening? It could be because of aiming. It could be because of expansion when you're trying to get through the clicker. There are other causes as well, but one thing to focus on in this review is that long hold. I think 5 seconds is very long. 7 seconds is far too long. Once you get past about 2 seconds, you start to shake. That is unavoidable. The well-trained professional shooters might be able to hold for longer, but they're well-trained. We shouldn't be encouraging long holds, especially indoor distances. That's not exactly the best way to train. So a lot of the muscular shake and fatigue will come from the long hold. So let's go through this in a bit more detail and see what else we can look at for this process. So we'll go back to our first shot. Now the first thing I noticed is, remember I counted from when he reached full draw. So this is where I have my first coaching kind of problem. And that is taking too long to finish the draw. Okay, and I'll explain this in person. So, a lot of people have a habit of not anchoring. They anchor, but they'll take their time doing so. So they'll draw. Okay, let's put it a different way. A lot of people draw too damn quickly. They go, and they're not ready yet. Okay, so that's one problem. But a lot of people have the opposite problem. They take too long to draw. It's something which basically does mention in his training guides as well, and that is to get the draw over and done with. You don't have to spend that long getting here and then getting here. Now, I personally do this sometimes. I have a two-step thing where I draw here and then I come up here. That's okay. If you need to stagger it to get the next step right, that's okay. But you need to be careful about holding for position for any longer than you have to. And what we see Sammy do in his shot sequence is that he will drop his... he'll draw to a point below his anchor point and then he'll raise it. But it takes around 3 seconds from full draw to anchor. So he reaches that full length at 2 seconds. At this point, your muscles are already starting to cramp. So any extra time you spend in this transition phase is going to take away from your shot. Now, the fact that it takes full draw, about 2 to 3 seconds to reach that anchor point, that is 2 seconds already wasted. And remember that at 2 seconds, you already start to feel that shake. That's at anchor point. If you're down here for 2 seconds, and then you settle to your anchor point, as Byron just mentioned, then by the time you reach here, you're already shaking. And that's something you should try to work on. That's one of the big contributing factors in the form issues which you might have, I think, is that you are taking too long to get to your anchor point. And what I recommend is draw closer to your anchor. Don't draw here and then wait and then go up here. Get to here sooner. I think the principle of get the draw over and done with is important. I'm saying rush the shot. Again, some people have to slow down and settle in, but for Sammy, I think it's the opposite problem. It's going to be draw it back, anchor it, and expand. Try to work on that motion, especially when shooting indoor. Don't worry about the aim so much. Get the process right. In, anchor, through. In, anchor, through. If you do this, and then this, it's good habits for settling the right anchor point and getting the right feeling, but it's also very fatiguing on your muscles, which you might find to be true for you. And as we see, there's a lot of shake. I don't think the elbow is necessarily bad, because I think that the way his joints and his bones, they're still angled in the right direction to work correctly. A lot of people shoot with completely straight arm. Some people shoot with slightly bent arm. Nothing too bad about this. It's not the main source of the problem. It might be contributing, but it isn't the main source. I'm not too worried about his front arm. His front hand's fine. It's nice and relaxed. I don't mind this hook. I personally shoot like this too, where there's less pressure on the ring finger. It's more for control purposes, and I think it's completely fine as well. This is almost like textbook Keisik Lee, alright? There's nothing wrong with his hook. So the main part I'm worried about is the process. Even from this angle and this distance, you can see there's a lot of shake. Alright, so there's a lot of shake happening here. This indicates a hold that is too long. I'm curious if he's able to shoot with more fluidity in a smaller time frame and still get that shot off well. Okay, we'll see it more in this angle here. Now, do note there will always be float, but this is a lot of shake at full draw. Ooh, Far Cry 5. There we go. Let's go back. So this is always going to be an issue, but it's for most people it won't be as bad. So here we go, full draw, and the shake is very apparent. You can see even before he anchors. Watch the drawing hand again. Even before he reaches his anchor point, he's already shaking. Let's have a look here. There's full draw, and you can see it right there, very subtle thing on the screen. Before he reaches the full draw, the anchor point, he's already shaking. Right there. You can probably see other views here. That's what we just saw. Let's do shot number 3 here. Yep. There's that tension and shake before he reaches his anchor point. So I think one of the biggest things to improve on there is that long draw. It's a long hold and also a long draw. And again, Byron's spot on today. The bow hand twitching is a giveaway. It might be it might be a high draw weight perhaps. I can't say for sure, but that is going to be a big issue there. All right. Player Hunter, a quick question: do you do the drawing, anchoring, and I think you call it expanding in all one fluid motion? I don't necessarily think it's a fluid motion, all three at least. Drawing and anchoring will basically merge together. It's not going to be like draw, then anchor. You can break it down, but that's going to be... It's not so much one motion, but it's more like the transition between each step. It has to be fluid. So it's not like 1, 2, 3, but it shouldn't also be like that either. Okay, that's more like snap shooting or instinctive shooting. Yeah, by the way, thanks, I know that. The problem with arrow keys is I want to find specific parts rather than like scrolling through it. But yeah, that's a good point there. Yeah, but the thing with the fluidity is it's more like each part should flow into the next. It's not necessarily one complete motion, especially expand, because at some point you want to aim too, right? So you might come back anchor, and then once you look at the target, then you continue. You never stop the process, but you don't force the next thing to happen when you're not ready for it. Okay, so that's what I think you need to worry about more, is the transition between each step, not the trying to get each step into one fluid motion. Okay, so that is perhaps the main feedback for Sammy. Let's see if there's anything else we can point out. I want to look at his back view because I'm seeing if he transfers the weight to his back correctly. That's also a cause for shake. Is if you are holding the weight of the bow on your shoulders and your arm and not your back muscles. What I want to see here is this back part, the scapula, kind of pop out, slightly go up, and then slightly go down again. That's the kind of motion. I'm going to go up here, and this is full draw by the way, so go back here. So it should rotate back, pop up, then drop back down very, very subtly. Okay, so let's have a quick look. Okay, he kind of does. And I feel that he can do one more motion there. So you can see it's a very hard, this one's a very hard angular motion there. This to me is not a good angular draw. And the reason why this isn't particularly good angler is because there's a break between the arrow line and the arm. And for most styles, the arm should be in line with the arrow. Now if it's doing true angler, then the bow will actually be pointing slightly that way. But if it's doing a straight draw, it kind of does get there in the end. He's doing, I don't know how to explain this. He's doing angular draw, but he's not correctly setting up to begin with. So at no point does he really get the arrow in line with his arm. Even up to here, you can see there's that break. So arrow is that way, arm is that way. Alright, so I think that's one of the more advanced issues I think he has to address, is whether he starts with the arrow in line or whether he gets to the point of full draw and he brings his elbow back. That's going to be one thing. Now, flexibility is always going to be challenging for archers, but this elbow should be more closer to this part, behind the ear, behind the neck. For the really good archers who can expand very far, then the elbow goes behind the neck. And what that does, it pops the scapula out of its position and it helps you load easier. Okay, so back to our real-time camera. Bloop. Real-time camera. Sorry, Play Hunter. The shoulder blades coming together is the expansion. We call the expansion because the feeling is the chest coming outwards and the shoulders coming in. So that's the expansion is that motion. That's why we call it an expansion. So it's more like a contraction here, but it's expansion. It feels like you're expanding. That's what it opens up. We don't say contract because it implies a collapse. It's expansion. So yes. Where was I? Yeah, so what I want to see a bit more of is more of that rotation of the elbow, okay? So let me try and find the best angle for this. So there's a break in the arm. You kind of want to avoid it. You want to keep the arm straight in line like that behind the head. So you don't see the elbow. The elbow goes behind the head so you don't see it. And for really good archers, they can expand quite far behind the head, but that's something a bit more advanced. Won't be too concerned about that. Perfect. Alright, so try to get at least in line. If you pop the shot out here, you have the chicken wing effect. That means you're loading more of the weight onto your tricep and the shoulder and not your back muscle. And again, that might contribute to the shake. That's because you're not efficiently using your muscles to load correctly. You're kind of stuck in this position. You go here and extend further back, move the elbow further back. You feel that back muscle, that rhomboid and that scapula crunching down. That's what you want to feel like. Okay? Oh yeah, so sorry, I'm zip keeping. 770 on a junior Canberra is quite good. So a Canberra is out of 900. A junior Canberra, if off the top of my head, is a 50, 40, and 30. Those are fun rounds to shoot because at 30 meters on a big target face, it's like you can't miss it. You feel really good about it. So good work. 770 on a junior Canberra is nice for a junior. All right. Okay, where was I? Yeah. So whoops, wrong button. Yeah. So I think the main talking points would be one. I reckon you need Sammy needs to get his draw done faster. I think he's spending too much time here at full draw but not anchoring. So rather than be 7 seconds or 5 seconds of full draw, get it down to 2. Get to your anchor point sooner rather than later. A professional can probably do this and get away with it, but this is not working too well because it's adding to the fatigue. That's one thing. The second thing is, what was my second thing? I think that was the one thing was the shake, wasn't it, right? So the draw and the anchor were a bit too much. And the second real big thing here is just to pay more attention to the draw. I think there's too much of a break between the arm and the arrow. You can see here, this is the perfect angle. I'm really glad Sammy shared this angle because we can see the motion is good, but the way it's set up isn't quite good. This isn't horrible, but it's kind of inefficient. And again, we never quite see the arrow and the arm go in line. And I think if there's a more advanced improvement would be to try and get the elbow a bit further back. And that should also engage the back muscles a bit more. Okay, so that is my feedback for Sammy. All right. Quick break while I fish my chai latte. Some questions. I got Play Hunter's question out there. I'm going to load the next one, which is Morton's. There are a couple of videos from Morton, which we'll go through momentarily. Plus, there's one more thing from somebody else who just emailed me. I think so. Let's refresh our Gmail for a bit. Yep. Okay. Hey, we got a video. Awesome. All right. I'll check that in a moment. That's really cool. All right. So let's have a look at Morton. Alright, that's preloaded, and then I will have a look at the chat for a bit. Oh yeah, James. Yeah, angles help so much, by the way. Like I said, if you only have the chance to do one form check angle, then the front view is the one you want. But the back view, or the other back view, they provide information which we can't always see. Like the position of the hand, how tight the anchor is, and so on. Again, a lot of people kind of misread things. Like, they say, oh, NUSensei, you've got a very bad anchor here. But the reality is, I've just got a very tight anchor. Now, sometimes Gmail, when you get a new email, it doesn't live update. Sometimes you have to refresh it. I've noticed that. So I've got like my phone told me there's an email, but my actual Gmail didn't say there's an email, so I had to just refresh it quickly. It might be delayed for a bit, but normally it should be. Okay, so let's see. Tabara makes a comment about, yes, we're all guilty of long holds and you can't faff about. That is absolutely true. My coaches always tell me off for being too long on the hold. Like, just like stop doing this like silly crap and just draw here already. And it has a point there. Some archers draw really low to the chest and up to their jaw. To him, and I agree to an extent, this is just wasted motion. You don't have the energy and the stamina to do this like 90 times in a day, 144 times in a day. So do bear in mind, you want to minimize effort, because over the course of a shoot, you're going to get more tired doing this. Many of us get tired by the time we reach our 6th shot in the end, let alone our 100th shot for the day. That's important to consider. So the draw and anchor indicates 2 steps and fluidly happening. The expansion is more of a clear separate step after you've done the first 2. Yeah, I'd say it's closer to what it should feel like. Like you don't want to start the next step before you're ready. The anchor point is a natural end to the draw. You don't keep on drawing. You anchor and then you draw and reach your anchor. That should be a smooth motion. The next part is, if you can get that as smooth as you can, that's a clean shot. Okay, so draw, anchor, expand, that's clean movement. You kind of want to get to that clean, fluid motion as close as possible. But it doesn't mean you have to expand and release immediately. What's more important is you're on target and it feels right, and then you let go. And it might be a bit staggered. As you get better and better, you have more muscle stamina and strength, and you have the correct muscle memory, these things become a fluid motion. And what you see the Olympians do, they don't actually hold onto their shot. When it comes to full draw, they will slow down the expansion, but they won't stop the expansion. Okay, so when you see the Olympians stay here for like 5 seconds, they actually haven't stopped. They're just very good at slowing down the expansion to the point where it feels imperceptible, and the clicker goes in their shoot. So there's a difference between slowing it down and stopping it. So don't try to think of it as separate steps, but more like, if you're well trained, you can slow down, especially shooting in tough conditions. Player Hunter makes a good point, and that is, if you are taking more than 3 seconds for the shot, you probably want to start again. Okay, there is probably, it's basically you kind of have that, you reach a point where there's an optimal level where you're probably as close to 100% as you can. The longer you hold, the faster that percentage drops. You go from like a 90% good shot to like a 20% good shot, and the longer you hold, the worse it gets. So some people, especially when you're being really stubborn, you can still pull off a good shot, especially if you get the shot through. But you're basically forcing yourself. You sacrifice a lot of stamina for one shot, which may or may not be good, and your next shot's gonna be crap. So yes, I would normally recommend Player Hunter that if you're holding for more than 3 or 4 seconds, you might want to let it down. If you have the chance to do so, like you're shooting in practice, or you have time in your end in your tournament, then do it again, because you can't take back the shot. So in general, yep, once you feel the flow go, let it down. We're always stubborn about this, but try to control that and discipline yourself. Okay, other quick questions. Any tips how to force yourself to hold longer? Counting does work, though. Yeah, I understand where Shalas is coming from. All right, this is what I do when I do my bare bow shooting at a close range. And in fairness, at close range, I know I'm going to hit gold, so I have no reason to hold for any longer. But it's good discipline. What I would recommend you do is, instead of counting your hit, because I think it's bad practice, because you can't count and focus at the same time. I think it's too, you kind of shoot by the numbers more so than shooting by feel. And archery should be by feel, not by numbers. What you should do to slow yourself down is to tighten things. Get the feeling tight. So rather than going aim and then you probably draw back, anchor, let go right away. And at close range, that's fine. At long range, you're doing something different. You might be gap shooting or something different. You need to factor in something else, okay? But if you're doing close range practice, try to focus on the feel more so than the aim point, okay? So when you anchor, what you can do is make sure it's doubly tight and then release, okay? That's usually a good habit to get into. So yeah, anchor, but anchor more tightly. Counting, you could try that. I don't think counting is a good idea. I've actually hammered someone. It was a PC Genie for doing a 5-second counting exercise, which I thought was really stupid because it doesn't train anything good. You still have to go by feel, not by numbers. Don't count. Counting is arbitrary. Go by feel. If it feels good at close distance, it's okay to shoot and snap shoot. But if you want to train good habits, just hold for longer. That's all I'm gonna say. Get it tight, expand, but take more time expanding. Don't rush the shot. It's something I need to do as well for bare bow shooting, but that's true in general. I think question from Akmal. I have a question. How do I want to know how to hit the yellow part in 60 meters and my arm bow are short. Aim higher, I guess. You might need a high draw weight then. If your bow is too light or too weak, then you will need to have a high draw weight. Otherwise, you can't aim high enough to hit the target. It depends on, are you missing the target or are you falling short? Okay, if your arrows can't make it to the target, then you need to change the draw weight or use different arrows. If you're missing the target, then that is different. We'll cut that different later. Shake through sheer force of will. Very funny. Let's watch Morton. Here we go. Oh dear. Potato quality. Let's see if we can do it. Is it high quality, Morton? Did you do this to me on purpose? Oh, fine. Okay, let's see Morton here. So we'll watch the sequence in its complete 40-second length, and then we'll comment. Alright, and we'll stop there. Okay, there's a second view, but I think this one basically gives us everything we need to know here. So, immediate feedback over here. Do I have a stain on my camera? Do I? Ah. Let me check my camera again. That can't be a stain, do I? That's my face. We'll change it later. Okay. Alright, back to our thing. Alright, so let's get back to Morton. So, what can we say about Morton here? He might have improved, yes, but this is what he sent me, okay? So, I only comment on what I see. So, what do we see here? I see a little love for the glove. We'll go for the obvious one first, alright? The anchor point here has a lot of problems with it. That's one. The first thing that got me is this anchor point isn't working. It might be the glove. It may be the glove here. But what we see here is a collapse in the shot. So what Morton is doing this shot, he comes back to his full draw. So we see a slight head movement. The head moves forward to reach the string, slightly, but there's a lot of movement here. Now, this is what I tend to see more with bare bow shooting. It's a little unusual to see this with the Olympic style shooting, or whatever style I was using here. It's got a sight there, so it's a little unusual. And the result of this is what is basically a collapsed shot. This is a fully collapsed shot. The back tension and the expansion has been lost. And the the muscles have cramped, they've contracted, and it's collapsed. So it's lost the power on the shot. Here, we'll see it again. So it moves forward. This is the hand moving forward there. So there we go. We're doing slow motion this time because this is a good speed video. I keep doing that. Ah! Alright, speed. Go for half speed. And what we'll see is the hand moving forward and release. So this is not a clean release. So anchor's there. You can see that one movement there. So between here, hand moves forward. Oops, go back a bit more. And that is a thrown shot. And this is what a lot of, I guess, beginners tend to do a lot more often. And that is, you have this forward motion. You kind of fling the arrow forward. Now, what Morton doing isn't quite the same thing, but it looks quite similar. So beginners, they'll anchor, and instead of releasing the string and letting it roll off the fingers, doing this motion, what you're doing is you're pulling back, and then you're letting yourself get pulled forward by the bow, and you kind of fling the arrow forward. It's kind of like, some people think it actually helps. So the beginner mentality is, I'm throwing the arrow forwards. Obviously not. But for you, Morton, I've got a feeling this is a problem. So plucking the string, perhaps, but I think the anchor point is a big problem here. It has to come in one motion and get it right. There's too much movement here to be consistent. I also feel that the release is very problematic because you're coming back to full draw, but it's not a smooth motion. This indicates that any forward movement indicates that you are being overpowered by the bow, and it likely cause you've lost your back tension. They mentioned to restart and shoot again. Let's watch again. So we add more to it. And Morton did mention the jacket as well. The jacket is problematic. There is the string hitting the jacket, which he mentioned in the email. But that's a problem. You can't shoot with this jacket here. I'm still watching half speed, that's right. So not to take so long. Let's get back to normal speed. Alright. The jacket is problematic. That's okay, actually. But we'll see again. That is you've lost the expansion this shot. What I recommend, yeah, that's gonna help. I really recommend. This is like 2 years ago, so I'm not sure what you're shooting now, but that is a big problem. Is there is no back tension here. It's all on the arm, and before you release, everything just flops. So that is something you have to work on. Or maybe you have worked on since, but see that motion there? We're going on 1/4 speed now. So the arm is being pulled forward by the bow. Yeah, there's forward movement in the arm right before the release, and the hand kind of flicks upwards. So there's an issue with the amount of, I guess you can say push-pull. It should be a balanced force. It should overpower the bow, but at hold it should be 50-50 on both arms. But the point before you release, you allow yourself to be overpowered by the bow. It might be a panic reaction where you're at full draw. I can't see you using a clicker, obviously, but at full draw, something happens and you lose the process. I've seen this happen. It's almost like a target panic. This might make more sense. It's almost like a target panic, where I'm not sure if this is the actual cause behind Morton shooting, but that is a target panic symptom, where you can't shoot because you're looking at a target, and because you can't, you just fling the shot away. That could be a problem. Okay. Yeah, Byron, it's almost like he's anticipating the shot. Yes, in some ways, that's true. I agree. These are classic symptoms of shot anticipation and target panic. That's what I think. Slapping the string. He could lean forward to avoid clothing to an extent, but you don't want to change your form to suit clothing. You change your clothing to suit form. The issue is you have the flap of your collar here, right? It's because you draw so close to your chest, it's very likely, let's use the sage here. It's very likely that the string will get caught because you're leaning so far in. Okay, that's the point, yep. So you're in here, alright, and it's very likely when you release, it catches that. So certain clothing, certain chest shapes, of course, but that to me is a liability. You don't want to ruin your shot because of this. Unfortunately, if you're wearing a very thick jacket in cold weather, there's not much you can do about it. You could wear a chest guard to carve that or pin that down somewhere. For me, what I do when I'm wearing one of these jackets or a thicker jacket, I'll wear a chest guard and I tuck the collar inside that chest guard, so that way it's pinned down in some way. Others wear like a special sleeve that pins down their sleeve here and their chest here. It's more of a sports thing. But yeah, you don't want your jacket or your clothing to ruin your shot process. That's also something you just don't want to. Like it's harder to shoot well as it is. When your clothing ruins it, then you can't do much about that. But leaning forward doesn't. If it makes your shot worse, I wouldn't do so. But yeah, good form tends to bring yourself quite close to your body. Okay. There is a second video. I'll take a quick look at that. The main thing there, Morton, from that video is your back tension and your anchor point are problem areas. There are probably several others, but that's the most immediate to me. It's that you're being pulled forward by the bow. I'll watch the second one here. So this, we'll watch this together. This is the back view. And we'll save the back view. Yeah, to me it's a panicky shot, and this is from 2 years ago. But that's a panicky shot. There's not much. The back view is actually probably a worse segment here. You can see that collapse very clearly, ironically from the back. I keep doing that again. Normal speed. Let's do 1/4, and we'll play it. So you can see full draw. So a lot of head movement to find the anchor point. There. You can see that collapse. Absolutely. That is a huge area to improve on in your shooting. Whether you have already or no, but that is something which you really have to address. Because it looks like a target panic shot. That's a bit too slow now. Let's speed up a bit here. So just watch the front hand here, the drawing hand. Anchor now. And we're slow in the slow-mo, I know. This is a bit too slow, but you'll see that movement here. There we go. See? So the arrow is released in the next frame there. That's okay, yeah, don't like the arrow as much. Alright, so here we go. There's the drop there. And the arrow goes off. So the release is very loose. So you've lost the back tension, arrow comes forward and then it's released. That's going to cause a lot of problems, I feel. I'm also not particularly fond of the setup. If we go back to the other one, I want to just point one more thing out. This is a procedural thing. Did I knock the camera? No, I didn't. Oh, that's fine. Okay, I'll go back to the first video because there's one thing that you do that as a coach I don't particularly like. It's a procedural thing. I'll try and get it here first. Okay, you'll see what I mean. It's the set position. I don't think this is done particularly well. Yeah, it's that movement. I know why you do it. The whole point of this is to add some tension in the string, and then you put the shoulders in position. But I don't think you do it for the right reason. The point of this movement here is that you're meant to like not set up right away. You're meant to get in this position, let your shoulders level, and then you begin the rest of the shot. And I feel that because you don't do that, the shot begins in a kind of a, it's almost like a robotic, stiff motion. This isn't contributing to any flaws, but I feel this is not something you see most people do. And to me, as just like I don't teach you with this, it's kind of unusual. It might work for you, so I'm not going to criticize it, but it doesn't seem to be done for a good reason. It's done for a reason, but not particularly good reason. So I'm not 100% fond of that setup method because it feels like you're being too stiff here. For on most people, Sage, come back here. I think for most people who are doing this, the reason why the thing that happens is that you often see people. Let's say I'm doing this, right? You see people add some tension string first. I'll bring the bow in. Let me find a better way of doing this. Here we go. All right. So you often see people do this. So at setup, they'll add some tension to string, and then they do this. So right, standing up. So you see a typical shooter probably go like that. Okay. So that's your set position. Shoulders are down, and then you bring it up there and you pull it back. That's what you see most people do. The way Morton does it, I think it's a little strange, where you have more of that push, and then you bring it up right away and shoot. I feel that that's not quite the right flow or the right shoulder position to get. So as a process, I feel it's a little awkward. I don't think it adds anything bad to the process, but if I was a coach, you know, watching this personally, I'd be slightly confused. I think my coach would tell me the same thing. It's kind of like why are you doing this? You know, so if it doesn't really add anything to the shot, you might want to kind of reconsider that part of your process. Because if you can repeat the wrong thing, well, if you repeat the wrong motion all the time, it becomes a problem. So that's not the main issue, I think. The main one is the release hand flinging forward before the shot and the bow dropping before the shot. But that's a smaller thing. Okay, so that's Morton's video. Sorry, I missed some questions before. I'm in shooting the African Championship. Oh, well done. Good luck with that. Chest guards are the big boy sized. I don't know about big boy sized. Got some camera questions. Thanks, Tyson. Yeah, Kevin has a good point. Bring the bow up in front of you, not behind you. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Alright. I think that ends Morton's video. Feel free to throw in more comments as we go along. Let's do one more. We've got one from Jesper. Let's see this first. Loading from drive. Very nice. Ooh, it's high resolution. Ah, very nice. Okay. Let's load this in 1080p. Goodness. Holy crap. Now we're talking. We have more than one pixel on the screen. Let's watch this one from Jesper. Is that you, James, by the way? See it load properly. Yay. Okay, let's have a look. I love your comments, by the way. So the email, I think in the email you said that it's filmed by a young person who couldn't quite capture everything. What I'm imagining is like someone who's like this tall trying to film upwards with an iPad or something. That's what it looks like. That's great. Alright, back to our video. It's great having fun of archery. Okay. Let's watch it again. That's great. Okay, so that's the right parts in it. That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. There are a lot of good things happening. That's a nice shot sequence. Okay, that's a very consistent and clean shot sequence. So, what can we narrow down in this analysis? Let's have a look. That's you, James. Good. So, James, let's look at a few things here. This is actually a nice shot sequence because you do the same thing 3 times, and there are a few like I think what you're doing is quite good. There's an element of concentration and a good mindset. So I see every shot is something you're focused on. I really want to emphasize this because unlike a lot of coaches, I guess, I talk more about mentality and mindset more so than technique. Because when you enter archery with a different mindset, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to shoot like crap. Okay? So what I'm seeing is a certain amount of care and focus with every shot. You'll see a lot of people, especially at your club in the shooting line, people don't care as much. They're just going to shoot, 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 and there's no real process or thought behind it. I like the intention shown in this sequence here. We mentioned earlier that we joked about like the look. Like an archer has a certain face, and we joked about it earlier. But to be serious, there is a particular face an archer makes when they're shooting seriously. And I think James actually has this. So this is why I think we can give James more advanced feedback and he'll take it very seriously because there is that mindset which you can see. It takes one to know one. I think James, Jesper or James, you're doing a great job by having this concentration. That's one thing I want to emphasize is that's very good focus. The archery face, yep. Okay, so let's look a bit more close. Right, I clicked my OBS. Alright, let's play the actual video. Alright, so let's see this. Alright. And there are a lot of things. By the way, I used to have that arm guard too, so that's an interesting coincidence. Okay, let's pause here. So, this isn't too bad. I would say you could drop your elbow just a bit, okay? One tip which I heard, which makes a lot of sense, is, you could drop your elbow just a bit. So at full draw, you're there. It's a nice tight anchor here. So I like the contact point with your face. I think this could drop down a bit more. By dropping your elbow down a bit more, you get more line with the arrow. See, there's the arrow there, and you can see your arm is very high up. Alright, so there's a break in the line of the arrow. You could drop, you have to drop it exactly in line, but drop it slightly so it's closer, and we see more of your back muscles being engaged. See here at full draw, having a high elbow will engage back muscles, but if you don't drop the elbow, you kind of leave it in your front shoulder. You probably actually see this on the camera. You can see that the weight is kind of held in this area. That's why a lot of people get injured. Not a lot, but some people get injured in this shoulder area because the weight is held there. Let's do it one more time. Yeah, you don't quite see. In fact, you see a contraction in the shoulders. So I want to see in slow motion. I think this is very advanced, and I think this is a good way to learn like what you expect to do. So do half speed. And this is a very nice. This is a nice. There's a light little dimple here, which is good. Front shoulder is fine. So when we get to full draw, you can see the very end motion. It comes forward. Okay, so we've kind of lost part of the draw. Not bad. Lost part of the draw, but you'll see. Maybe the camera's focusing is kind of weird, but we don't really see an expansion outwards. It's more like it's in place. It moves forward slightly, and then it comes back. So that's one thing to watch out for. Is you probably want to keep this elbow a little further down and a little further behind your head. That I think is going to be a big fix for you. It'll feel the most difference. So we'll see that shot again, and that will also explain the release as well. That's a bit open release. It should be more in line backwards along your chin or along your cheek. That one kind of flings outwards. So a bit of a pluck there, I feel. And the next shot. Let's do it again. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot the pro tip. The pro tip I was going to say was, the line of your arm should intersect with the grip. If the arm is in line or the arm points towards the grip, then you are probably more in line and you're more efficient there. Your arm is very high, so you kind of point downwards to the bottom of the riser, which from a visual perspective means you're probably a bit too high. I'll try and find a different video. I'll try and show a different video to do this a bit more. Yeah, you're right. The optimal angle should be the top of your bow hand. Yeah, basically. So I say grip, but top of the bow hand is about right. So Byron, you're pretty much on the ball there. I'm going to just try and find another video. I use my video, I guess. I'm not the best source, unless someone sent me a different video previously, which you don't have. Does the Sammy show it? I'm gonna see a different video to demonstrate without being a ping. All right, let's use Sammy because I think Sammy gets them right. Interestingly enough, okay. So Sammy's video, you can see at full draw, that to me is a better line. It's close to the line of the arrow, but more importantly, that arm there is pointing towards the grip. Okay, that I think is a better line. You can see the elbow has dropped down. Now, it could rotate further back, but the height is more correct. If we go over to James's video over here, you can see that's a very big difference. So in this particular scene, you can probably expect the elbow to be closer to around here. Whereas up here, there's less muscle engagement. And like I said, it tends to be stuck in the drawing shoulder. If you feel that way, James, let me know. I'm curious how you feel about the shot. Look, from what I'm sensing, I feel there's more pressure in this particular joint and muscle. Okay, that's where I feel the pressure is. And when you release, that becomes clear because that's where it goes. Like, there's not much expansion. It's more so the shoulders carrying the load. That's what I think at the moment. There are a couple more smaller things, and that will be your anchor position, the way you get to it. I think your anchor's good. The way you get to it, though, that's not horrible. And there is nose contact. I was worried that there was no nose contact. You do have a long nose, thankfully, so a well-shaped one, I should say. That's not horrible. I think people always say you shouldn't move your face. I think this is a very small movement, which you can get consistently. A lot of archers have this small facial movement to get it just right. Ideally, you keep your head in the same position each time. Some people do that, but you notice that as you do that, you lose your back tension because you're finding your anchor, and then you collapse there. See? And then you re-engage slightly, so the shot still has power in it. But that, to me, might be a problem area, especially when watching a game in third person in slow motion. You may find that perhaps this is not working as well. If you practice and you consciously keep your head still, I mean, you have that good focus, but that kind of loses it. Put your head into position that you would draw to. This is something I struggle with as well. Is sometimes you have a certain position when you look at the target, but the position at draw changes. I mean, there's no reason why you can't draw to here except you're facing the wrong position, right? Because you're staring straight at the target. So perhaps think about turning your face slightly. Alright, so maybe use, like, at your final position here. I don't know, it feels like you're leaning back too much. I feel you can tilt your head forward and draw to your face instead of leaning backwards, getting it under and putting your face down. Your in position's okay, but I feel that the way you get there has unnecessary movement, which can adversely affect your shot process. So that's my my feedback. That was a very good sequence. I liked it because you're very consistent, so it's easy to pick out things which you can improve in your next shot. Okay, I'll take general questions. It's been about an hour and a half, so I'll take general questions. Any last minute videos sent to me like right now, otherwise that will end the form check sequence. So I'll take the general Q&A while my chai latte is getting cold. So, any questions? Go for it. Yeah, I do the same thing actually. Sometimes I do, not always. Depends on the day. Yeah, you need your head has to be in a certain position to get the string picture. That is correct. That's why I know you're doing it for that reason. It's why I don't always say it's a bad thing, because I know why you do it. Because a lot of us do the same sort of thing. But ideally, if you need your head in a certain position, then try to start that position and then draw it to your head. So if you have to do this, like get your head a certain angle, you're about to do this. Yeah, Sage. All right. So if you have to do something with your head to get the right position, instead of drawing and then getting it right, because that's quite easy to do consistently, try experiment, keep your head in that position, and then draw it to it. Because that makes a lot more sense actually if you think about that, right? So if you go draw and then get it in there, that you can still do the same thing. So if you're doing this to get your head position, then do that first, get your head there in the right position, and draw to that position. I make it look easy, I know, but it's something you can do. Like if you have to move your head to get the right strike picture, just the right side picture or string picture, then you can do that without moving your head. Might be surprised. Good shooting though. Seriously, nice shooting. These are good tips for you. I'm really glad we finished that video, because that's a pretty good intermediate level shot that we can learn from. The new X-Spot Barbell Bras is great to shoot. That's interesting. They have a video of that, Kevin, because I haven't seen the X-Spot yet. I haven't really been following it. Isn't a hyperextension of the elbow like that risky when also putting pressure on the edge of the elbow? Yeah, it can. That's something which a lot of people will fix. Sorry, John B. I'm breezing my arm around my elbow above and below on the inside. It's your elbow position. String slap happens for different reasons. Where you get slapped will determine everything. If you're being slapped in this area on the inside of the elbow, that means very basically that you're turning your elbow outwards and your string is cutting across the bone here. I've never actually done this. I slapped myself here plenty of times with my forearm, right? So this is why I normally slap myself. It's a forearm thing. That means I'm moving my arm or something, right? To slap there. But being slapped on the elbow joint here means that you're basically shooting. A couple of reasons. Could be your elbows turned that way. It could also be your shoulder popping up like that. So when you pull back, your shoulder pops up and you bring your arm into the line of the string. So common advice, basically, turn outwards without moving your wrist. Alright, so instead of going, you don't go like that. A lot of people who fix the mistake do it like that. You need to keep your shoulder still and your wrist still, so you turn your elbow like that. Okay, that's the view there. That's perfect. You don't go like that, and a lot of people have trouble doing this. I show people, and like, keep your shoulder still. It's weird. It's like playing with those those wooden models, like you do for artwork. The one that are made from like the different positions. They kind of like turn. It's really funny. So you can like that. But yeah, like try to keep your shoulder still, and your wrist still, and then you turn that way. That's the solution to that problem. What would you say is the weirdest, most exotic bows you've ever shot? Most different from your modern, typical recurve? I don't think I've shot an exotic bow, apart from the horse bows, because that's a different style entirely. I haven't shot a Yumi, but I've held one. I've pulled one back, but I haven't shot it yet. In terms of the most different, yeah, I don't really have a most different one. I suppose the bows. I mean, the most exotic, which I probably see, is probably the liver compounds, like the Oneida bows. Those are probably the weirdest ones, but I haven't shot one. So I haven't shot a bow that is truly exotic. So I can't really answer that question. Apart from horse bows, those are weird. Have you ever tried to make an arrow curve? I want to do so. I haven't had time to set up my field for me to try to curve the arrow. I know how to. I just haven't done it yet. But I've got some different arrows to experiment with, so it can be done. I just haven't tried it yet. And when I do it, I'll film it. I'll explain it. but haven't had time to experiment with trick shooting. This is the thing I have with trick shooting. This is what I explained in the video, which people always hate, is that look, as an archer, I'm busy, right? I'm trying to compete. I'm trying to get personal best. I'm trying to train in my particular style, and now I'm practicing different styles of archery. Things like, you know, curving arrows are nice trick shots, but who has time for that, right? Not every person who trains the sport has the time to muck around and you know, trying different things. So it's why, like, I'm not particularly fussed about not doing trick shooting or speed shooting. It'd be nice to. I mean, I want to learn different techniques, and maybe it's a fun thing, but I don't sacrifice my actual my actual style and competition to do something which I don't necessarily want to do. So yeah, I would like to try it one day. I want to get more time to you know, have some free practice time, but all my time is spent either training or coaching, one of those things. So that's the I haven't done it yet. Next question. I agree, Byron. Expectations are good. Like, don't knock yourself out for not meeting expectations. Yeah, like, don't knock yourself out for not meeting expectations. But use it as motivation for you to keep on doing better. One of the best rules or best piece of advice I heard, it came at just the right time. It's this, Shalasa. Shoot the arrow, not the score. That is such good advice for archers. Is shoot the arrow, not the score. Forget the score. Don't try to shoot 50 per end, or don't try to shoot your 300. But that sort of expectation can always be it's a two-edged sword. It can motivate you, it can also demoralize you. So make sure you balance yourself out mentally. Double-limbed bows a thing in reality? I haven't seen the one in Game of Thrones. Let me look it up. What's a double-limbed bow? Oh, I mean like the split limb. Oh, those bows. Those are double bows. Those are real bows. Yeah, those are real bows. Yeah, let me get a better picture of this. I'm trying to find a shot of his bow. See some old-fashioned shots. I'm getting some weird angles here. That bow is real. Some weird cosplays. I'm seeing his other bow, not the way he uses it, right? So I imagine, I know what it is, by the way. It's the off the top of my mind, most common source of archery range. It's probably just like, you know, like any part. It's basically not hitting the part you want to aim at. The hard thing is that most of these bows are the normal style bow. There's the double limb one, but yeah, that is a real bow. Let me point out what it is. Funny enough, it's got a double bow. You see a Far Cry Primal as well. So I'm just gonna look a few things up. It's such a double bow. We can always like ribbons and like scissors. There is a double bow. Oops. That's from Far Cry Primal. What was the name of the bow? Guys, help me here. I've completely forgotten what the name of the double bow is. Like the actual traditional bow. I've completely forgotten what it was. Wikipedia, help me here. Chat or Wikipedia, help me. What's the actual bow used traditionally, which is double bow? I've just completely forgotten. The point of the second set of limbs, there is a reason why. Once I showed, guys, help me here. I can't remember the bow. The actual historical bow, which is double bow. So it is a real bow. I just completely forgotten what it is. Help! Help! I should know this. What kind of archer am I? I'm a fake. This is like scandalous. Thank you, Pinup Scott. Thank you. Oh, jeez, what happened there? I know what. I'm thinking the Malaga bet, which is I'm getting one made for me, but it's the thank you. It's the Pinup Scott bow. Oh my goodness, how did I? Yeah, right. Whew. Thank you. Oh, right. Totally not a fraud. Thanks, John B, by the way. Pinup Scott. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Got it. Okay. Alright, so the actual bow that is used in real life, thank you a lot. You can search it up here. It's the Pinup Scott bow. It is basically a traditional North American bow. That is, I believe, from a game. But the actual bow should look something like this. It's the Indian bow. Alright. That's the idea. So sometimes you have this shape, sometimes you have this shape. The idea is there. It is a legitimate bow. Thank you. Oh my goodness, it completely blanked out there. Okay, look, in fairness, it's 11:30. I've had a long week. But it is an actual bow that is used. Thank you. For those watching on the replay on the VOD, ignore the last 5 minutes. Alright, just get to this point. Okay, so what is the point of the second set of limbs? That is a good question. Basically, well, James has got it right here. It allows you to have the power of 2 sets of limbs for the size and shape of just one. Okay, that's basically it. It's kind of like how now we have like, well, imagine you have a composite bow. A composite bow would have been, it would have layers of wood and horn and sinew to give all the qualities of a more powerful bow in compression and flex, but in a shorter size. And a double bow or a Pinup Scott bow is a very similar thing. So instead of having a more complex composite design, which can take a long time to make and requires technology and bow making advances, but you just have 2 bows, right, stuck back to back, and you have that same sort of effect there. So yes, like we said before, the pro is that it allows you to have a more powerful bow, without having like double the thickness or double the size. Okay, that's one thing there. The con, I guess, would be that it's a bit more fragile. I mean, it's probably going to have more points of failure. So that's probably why it wasn't particularly widespread. But the advantage, the reason why it was made, more power. More power. By the way, thank you for your tips. I don't normally widely encourage it, but thank you. Token tips are very nice. As you know, I don't accept Patreon donations or PayPal donations. It's just basically just take what you have. You get what you pay for, so you pay nothing, you can't complain. But no, the live streams are a way to get tips. I don't mind doing that. That's really cool. Thank you guys. It's one way to show that. And by the way, of course, as I said earlier, one of my former students, Jara, you saw him begin the stream. He has been chosen to represent Australia at the Under-20 Athletic Championships. So he's fundraising right now. So if you do have a few dollars to spare, a few euro or the Danish krona, then feel free to send him some his way. I'm sure he'll appreciate donations as well. I'll be sending some of my tips and revenue to Jara after this stream. But thank you a lot for your donation. That is Danish krona, right? I like to think that one of the funny things about streams when I watch other people's streams is that you get like currencies that people don't know. It's kind of like, what is that currency? I try to be a bit more like geographically enlightened, so I don't embarrass myself from the camera too much. Okay. For these bows, Play Hunter, these double bows, they would not be for nobility because like in place. This is a North American Indian bow, okay? So it wouldn't be used by nobility because nobility is an Eastern concept or a Western concept, so European and arguably in you know, in a lot of the more kind of feudal societies, nobility is a feudal concept. It's not or a royal concept. And when you have a place with no kings, then you don't really have nobility. And talk about things like chieftains and chieftain families, possibly yes. But I don't know. I don't think it's like bows were not really noble weapons. Bows were used by nobles, but they weren't noble weapons. They would probably not be kept and maintained by nobility. Depending on what area you're talking about here. But talking about like, European or Asian nobility, they had swords, right? Swords were like, the symbol, the status symbol. It's true, European swords, Japanese swords, they were more, well made and particularly made for lords who could afford it. There was things like spears were cheap weapons which anyone can use. Bows were like peasant weapons. Nobles used them to hunt, but not for status. You don't really have nobles in power of that. Yeah, no, we'll take it forever to make. What, swords? Yeah. I mean, like, the thing to understand with swords is that you have what's basically mass-produced swords. Like, not like factory-made. But there's a myth that in medieval times, swords were rare. And only lords or soldiers had swords, and the common people didn't have swords. That's false. There were lots of swords. Because one thing you have to remember, right? People were always making swords. Swords don't just disappear, right? So over hundreds of years, there will be an increasing accumulation of swords. So it's not surprising that people can buy swords for very cheap at the local market. It wasn't like, swords were super expensive and rich people could use them. No, swords were very common. You can buy them at the local... It's like today. We have tons of, like, army surplus. So, in America, for example, you can buy guns really easily from World War II or post-World War II because you can buy them for cheap because they made thousands of them. And guns don't disappear. I mean, apart from getting rid of guns for gun control, the guns themselves don't disappear. They're still around. They don't just magically vanish after use by a day. And the same thing with swords. Swords don't disappear. They some will be lost, some will be rusted, some will be broken. But a lot of swords. I mean, if every soldier had a sword, and they went and conquered Britain, and then they had a family or whatever, they still have swords. They just disappear. So people always find swords, or like get swords passed down or sold to them. Very easy to come across a sword. So, I mean, you have, again, cheap swords which are made for the soldier or for the, I wouldn't say the average person. The average person probably couldn't afford a sword, and except for the hand-me-downs. But man, swords were made to be functional and cheap and crude. And then you have like the decorated swords, which were probably owned by nobles and were probably never used because they wouldn't use swords, they wouldn't fight in battle. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. This is an archery channel, not a sword channel. But where was I? Yeah, we'll take forever to make. Yeah, like the ones which are meant for decoration and status would have taken. They would have been like a masterpiece. It would have been like the work of like. It would have taken months, if not years, to make a single sword for a lord, and that would be like a lifetime of pay. But for common swords, not so much. Basically, you beat the sword in shape, get it sharpened, get it tempered, and you're fine. So yeah. Yeah, it was a steel that made swords expensive. Absolutely. Do I watch Scholar Galatoria? Yes, I do. I don't watch all his videos, but he's definitely one of the people I watch. I watch Matt Easton. I do watch Metatron. He's nice to watch. Ian from Knight Errant. It's nice to watch as well. Yeah, absolutely play Hunter. Like the M1911, like you're right. It's 1911. It's made for World War One, right? So it's still used today. But literally, like, look at every AK-47 derivative. Like, look at like every Mosin Nagant rifle or SKS or any like Soviet block rifle. Like, you can get so many cheap guns. It's really easy to get weapons. That's why, again, imagine like how many guns have been made in the last like 100 years. Most of them aren't gone. Where did they go? They're still around, right? Like, some are destroyed, some are lost, some find to collectors, but worldwide there are so many guns. And whether they're legal or not, it's different, but wherever you go, you can get a gun. Some are made brand new from the factory, hence are very expensive, but you can get cheap guns. And I'm saying this to like I'm a gun channel, but this is the comparison. Bows, on the other hand, are organic. And they're seen as like this is a common tool. So like if a family was starving, hungry, cold, they would use the bow for firewood. Because the bow, you can always get another bow. You can always make one and get one, and they're really easy to make. Like this, especially self bows. Things like the horse bows were more delicate, so you wouldn't throw that bow away. But for like your self bow, which you might use to hunt the occasional deer, that was just stuff you can burn when you were like you didn't need the bow anymore. So that's why you don't find many bows that survive. Like there are very few surviving bows that are intact, whereas swords don't disappear. Are there any cultures? Well, let's get back to that. I think consoles with the ability of most that swords survive. Yeah. And like I said, like the swords survive because they're better made and they're made from steel. Bows are wood; they will disappear from over time. You know, they'll break down and rot and so on. So you won't see bows left over. But you know, from what we know from history, bows were the commoner's weapon. A nobleman would use a bow to hunt, but wouldn't use a bow to fight in a war. They'll let other archers shoot other archers. I mean, the whole idea of knights and not killing, like a knight fights a knight or a lord fights a lord. You don't fight peasants. You don't want a peasant with a crossbow or bow shooting a lord. That's insulting, man. But yeah, culturally, like bows were used by nobility, but weren't the noble's weapon of choice. Thanks, Zoga. Yeah, it's interesting to see. Yeah, like you're seeing it. Like if you watch Ian from Forgotten Weapons, he goes to auction houses and he talks about weapons which existed like obscurely 1,000 years ago. And it's just bizarre. It's really good. Let's see. Sorry, Play Hunter. Well, were there any cultures where the nobility of that culture preferred bows as status symbols over swords? Probably the samurai, the Japanese samurai, probably because the Japanese samurai were bowmen first. They weren't swordsmen; they were bowmen. Because remember, samurai were warriors, and the battlefield weapons were bows and polearms, so spears, halberds, or naginata in this case, and bows. The bow is a primary weapon, spear is a secondary weapon, sword as a tertiary weapon. The idea of samurai wielding swords as a primary weapon is fictionalized. It's more dramatic and romanticized and epic, but the main battlefield weapons would be bows and swords. So in a lot of Eastern cultures, the bow would be the symbol. So the idea of arming the masses with bows is kind of unpopular. The real bowmen were the samurai because they trained with the bow first and foremost. I imagine stuff like the any horse archer culture, Huns, Mongols, the Turkic peoples, the Manchus, for example. A lot of mounted archers would have greatly respected their bows, and their bows were very well made. That's one of the big differences. AK is being made from adamantium, but rifle was fine. Where was it? Yeah, you can 3D print guns. That's true. Do I know how to make Flemish twist? No, I personally don't know how to make Flemish twist. Let's do something else there. That's fine. Yeah, you can spend 9,000 hours making a bow and then burn it. No, you wouldn't spend 9,000 making. That's silly. No, you would spend like less than a day making a bow. I'm talking about the peasants. I'm not talking about the composite like horn bows that you see which are really well made for war. I'm talking about the average peasant who might have a self bow. They've made their own bow or bought a cheap bow from the local boya, and if they need to burn it, then they might use it as firewood in case they can't get firewood. It's just like the first thing in your houses. Well, we're really cold tonight. We're gonna die tonight. Bows down on the shelf, so grab the bow and burn that. You can always get another bow. That's the thing, right? And then I'm not talking about the really good bows, like the war bows. I'm talking about like normal bows that you would use to hunt or poach. Tyson Savage, I'm thinking about starting my own archery channel. Any tips about how I get started? Big tip for me is watch my videos. No, watch my videos on like why archery channels fail. That's a very big starting point. My question is, why do you want to start an archery channel? Like, what is your personal stake in this? I started mine because there wasn't enough resources out there for people to learn. I'm the sort of person who would spend hours watching random playlists to absorb knowledge, and what I wanted to learn wasn't out there. There was, again, at the time there would be Merlin Archery or Grizzly Jim. There would be Gray Archer and Jeff Kavanagh. Those were the main people at the time. And back then they had like what, 4,000 subscribers or less. Okay, now things have grown. Grizzly has more than 4,000. It's got like what, 10,000 now. But I came at the point where it was Grizzly Jim and co. Now there's me. So things have changed a lot. At this point, 5 years ago, back when I started Archery, I had 150 subscribers. This year, I will reach 100,000. That's an interesting benchmark there. But going back to the point, the thing about an archery channel, Tyson, is, well, what exactly do you want to do? Is it going to be a tutorial channel, like what I do when I teach people how to do things? Is it going to be you doing demonstrations of trick shooting? Is it going to be an inspiration channel? So think about the goal for your channel. Because I see a lot of people start by saying, oh, I'm going to teach how to do a release, or I'm going to teach how to do stance, or I'm going to review a product. But there's no long-term goal, all right? So think about what you want to provide for your future community, okay? So, like, for me, I'm a perfectionist. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm a completionist. So I want to make videos which cover every possible topic. That's kind of my motivation. And I will never run out of ideas. There'll always be something else, history or technique or sport. So you kind of need to have, a long-term goal. I mean, making a channel might be fun for your first couple of videos, but you will find yourself in that zone where you want people to watch videos. Why spend like days filming and editing for one view, right? So you kind of, having fun is one thing, but making a channel means you need a strategy. It's like, think of running a channel as in running a business. And you're right, Tyson. Many people who start a business do so out of a passion for that particular business. Maybe it's sewing, or maybe it's art, or maybe it's music. They want to teach music because they're very passionate about it. But you can't just go into it without a strategy. You need a long-term plan and a vision. Okay? So if you want to make archery videos as a YouTube channel, you need to think just beyond, I want to share my passion. You need to accept in some way that responsibility and that accountability, that you can be a role model. That's a scary thing, okay? I'm a role model. And right now, Ronnie, I'm a live role model. And there are a lot of people are not cut out for this. You can be that person. Alright, you were probably like me. I started archery in a time and place where there weren't that many people who were interested in archery. There isn't much out there. So yes, there is opportunity for you to do so. But my overall advice for you for starting an archery channel is, what is your long-term goal? Have a roadmap. Like, what do you want to make? What do you want to cover? The topic or the content of your videos is going to be very important. There are things like production value, things like getting a good camera, but these days you can use any tablet or phone and the quality will be just fine. You might have to fix your audio. Again, most videos will work fine. If you need a better microphone, buy a microphone for your phone or something. Okay, good microphones will be quite an investment. But I'll show you something. Not that. So, for the first 5 years of my channel, I filmed with this. It's a camcorder. Audio is crap. Right? I have no green screen studio. I have no microphone. My first 5 years is this. The first 5 years were this. Okay? So, this is what I mean by, like, you don't need much. I mean, back then this would cost like $2,000 or something, right? Or $1,000. But this was quality back then. But I started, I just rolled my arrows, by the way. So I started with this for the first 5 years. And I adapted my filming method and technique to mitigate the disadvantages. I have no microphone. I have very loud backgrounds and noises, so I tried to mitigate that. All right. So ever since then, and when this died, I bought my actual camera, which is a digital camera SLR, with a proper microphone, and the microphone made a massive difference. Right. So that's one thing. Eventually, if you have the equipment already, fantastic. You're gonna have a huge edge because a lot of people now are starting channels with better equipment. Right. So what was I? Yeah, so a lot of people are starting with equipment, but you probably already have. I should point out, you probably already have the right tools to start the channel with. Okay, so the more important is your content. If you make if you have good equipment, but you have uninspired content, then you're gonna fail. It's gonna flop. Likewise, if you have like really bad equipment, that's really bad, like potato quality bad, that's different. But generally speaking, the content is what drives you. So think about what content you will make and how you will present it, how you produce it, so that you have the right persona, the right approach, the right attitude, right? So that's what you need to think about, is that sort of thing. Now, honest, what's more important, camera, microphone, or editing software? In my opinion, of those three, editing software, you don't need advanced editing software. If you don't want to learn something like Sony Vegas or Adobe Premiere, any editing program can be as good as another. It really gets complicated when you're doing more advanced production values, things like opening an end screen, things like animations. Those require a bit more. But you need to edit. So I wouldn't say software is super important, but editing is super important. What will set you apart from other channels is your editing. And this is still true today. Look at every archery channel. How many archery channels actually edit their videos? Apart from like the end and beginning, right? How many actually edit? That's a thing. What set me apart very early in my YouTube career was the fact that I bothered to edit. That's important. You should cut. Basically, there's no reason, unless you're live like I am, there's no reason why you should include bloopers or mistakes. There's no reason why you stumble over your words. If you make a mistake, do another take. Edit that out, do another one. Alright, I'd rather have a clean, mistake-free sequence instead of watching someone fumble over and over again. Okay, that is something which is going to be a big part of your production value, is edit. Now, other things. But Jara, yes, I agree. A lot of people, and Grey Archer's one of them, a lot of people have a habit of rambling and going on tangents. And you need to be careful with this. Again, when you're live, you can get away with it. I can go on any tangent I want, I'm live. When I'm making a video, I have to control the flow and the direction of the video. That's why editing is important. That's why scripting is very important. When I started, I scripted every single video. I read off a prompt, I read off my tablet. When I was filming, you see my eyes drop below the camera. I would look at the camera, look over now and that. I still do it every now and then for really complex topics. But yes, you will need to prepare your videos. Preparation, scripting, research, editing. That to me is a priority for a good video. Camera only has to be good enough. Microphone only has to be good enough. Now, if I was to spend big on a camera or microphone, I personally would buy a good enough camera and a damn good microphone. That to me is the most important thing now for me. Like I wouldn't go back and watch my old videos because my current microphone is so damn good that I would rather remake my old videos with my new microphone than to watch them again. But that's okay, because that was like 5 years ago. Now I've got the money and the technology and the experience to use it well as I can. So in my opinion, to answer the Player Hunter's question, that was a really, also answers question. So in my opinion, editing comes first, because you can film with your current technology and equipment, but you need to edit it. Number two would probably be a camera that is good enough, because you can still film with a bad microphone, but the camera, if you can probably control your environment. But if you can't do that, then you need to have a microphone which works. So in my opinion, editing, then a microphone, then getting a very good camera. Otherwise, good enough is good enough. But you want to take the next level, especially if you are, again, a lot of the current, the next generation of archery channels are just using benchmark equipment, your camera phone or something, okay? And a lot of people in the chat right now is, I mean, like Kevin, like, you can give advice, Kevin. And normally, like Grizzly Jim jumps in his point, because he's awake right now. He might jump in as well. Yeah, like a lot of people in the chat right now, probably have some kind of working channels. Kevin's doing so right now. You probably imagine there are certain things which can help you out. But that's my general advice. I mean, that's a long rant, I know, but this is something which I've done for 6 years now. I'm gonna get my silver play button in around like 6 months. So this is something worth sharing with anyone else who wants to do an archery channel, and that is, you need to be inspired. You have to ask the question, why am I growing more than everybody else? I'm not trying to like be a smartass and say, look, I'm the best archery channel. I'm not, really. I don't think I am. But the thing is that, why are other channels growing slower than I am? That's a factual observation. So big reasons: regularity and frequency. So making regular content, making good content, and addressing things. You have other channels which make good content once a month, whereas I tend to make content like once a week or something. So you have a regular scheduling is different when you're doing tutorials. When you're doing entertainment, you need a schedule. But when you're doing tutorials, you don't need a schedule as much as you're making regular content. So making stuff which people want to watch. So recognizing, Tyson, like what people want to watch, and making what people want to watch. That's why in some ways following archery trends can be a good thing. We don't really trend that much, but you can do so. So like, you kind of anticipate, for me, what I did, I anticipated what people wanted to know and wanted to watch. And part of that was because I'm an instructor at a club. So everything that my instructors, my students ask me, I'd probably make a video. So I've seen it, people want to know about it. There are probably a million people with the same question, so let's answer the question, and people won't feel bad about Googling it and finding out. So that's my inspiration. So if you can get your head around what you want to make, and then start making it, and then over time improve the quality of production and so on, then you're in the right place to do so. Okay, that's my advice for you. There's a lot to go on with, but yeah, my advice for you is basically like, think about a plan. What will you make? Will you start with the basics of archery and cover things? Will you go through more oblique topics or product reviews, and so on? Right? So yeah, like there are so many opportunities. So think about what you want to do with your channel. That's my advice for you. And again, for anyone watching this making channels, everyone's at different stages. People might work on presentation skills, or changing their equipment, or investing in better microphones. But my advice for you is basically make content which people want to watch. And the more you immerse yourself in an archery environment, the more you pick up on what people want to watch, whether it's on Reddit or on Archery Talk or in your local club. There are things people want to do. Actually putting yourself out there to make content is such a ridiculously hard step. Kevin, you're in chat right now, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Putting yourself in front of a camera and trying to instruct people is super, super, super hard. It is unbelievable. It is something, anyone who does this is probably insane, because why would you want to put yourself in a camera on YouTube to hundreds and thousands of people around the world, unless you're really, really passionate about what you do? That to me is incredible. Okay, so yeah, go for it, Tyson. I really encourage you to do so. Let me know when you do. I want to watch your stuff as well. Okay, so yeah, it's worth it. That's my advice. Whew, that's a lot. So just going back to Player Hunter makes a point. It's difficult to find a lot of reviews of archery stuff, and that is true. The thing about archery reviews is that you need access to products. You need access to goods. you will often find that the reviews come from archery stores or archery suppliers because they have the most access to stuff. The reason why I do reviews is I happen to work in a club. So I beg, borrow, and steal stuff that goes to the club. So if someone buys a new bow, I get my hands on it first. So for example, right now I have a My Bow Elite. I think I can't remember what it was. I've got a My Bow because someone in our club just bought it. He's on holiday, so I've got it right now. He hasn't used it yet. I'm gonna use it for the first time, and I'm gonna review it. So I make the point to grab whatever bow I can and review it. It's good for people buying the bows. It's also very good for the companies too, especially like the traditional companies or the independent bowyers who make really good bows. I did the Norseman review, and Nick Linton in New South Wales is a fantastic bowyer. He needs that promotion because like you don't have the chance to make a name for yourself, and even you might make quality bows, but you don't have a chance to market yourself very well because it's a very niche market. So being able to do that, it's a very good thing. Supporting businesses, that sort of thing. That's why it's very hard to find quality reviews. And even for me, like I feel kind of like I don't shoot that many kinds of bows. I don't shoot compound, for example. So I'm kind of limited to what I have access to. But that's one thing is that yeah, you're right. Reviews are very hard to find. Where was I? Let's see. Play Hunter Gain. What camera do you or do I use for pre-recorded videos? I'm not sure you remember pre-recorded. I showed you my other video. That was the Sony HDR from like 7 years ago. The current camera I use is a Panasonic Lumix G7. That's my current camera. So my Sony HDR, I think the memory has died. So I can't write to an SD card, I can't write to internal memory, so I can't use it anymore. It turns on, but it turns off. So something's wrong with it. It's died. So yeah, I bought a new camera. I bought the Panasonic Lumix G7, and I use a Rode lavalier microphone, which is what I use for most of my videos. The funny thing was that the Lumix G7 basically paid for itself because the first video I made was the Olympic bow swinging video, and that went viral somehow. 2 million views now, and that paid for the camera. That was a camera test. I didn't plan the video. That was not scripted. That was completely ad-libbed, unplanned, improvised. Didn't think it through. It was a camera test, and it went 2 million views. Holy crap! I'm not complaining. That is really, really funny. All right. Yeah, John, it's funny because I was checking Lars's channel, and yeah, he hasn't made a video for a while. And that's what I mean by regular content. He has like millions of, thousands of subs, hundreds of thousands, because he has a couple of viral videos. But I find him hard to call him an archery channel because he doesn't make a lot of archery content. It's kind of like every now and then he makes a viral video. It's kind of like the PewDiePie of archery. Without the negative, maybe with some of the negative connotations. But yeah, in terms of popularity, he's kind of like more PewDiePie popularity, but not so much in terms of regularity of content. Yes, Kevin, the big problem is setting up an environment where people can leave you alone, right? Yeah, I have the same thing. Like, I have to plan around my schedule and the club schedule as well. Because, yeah, I can't film with people around. I have sometimes, it's really awkward. That's why you have takes, like, sometimes you can't stop people interrupting you, but you still have takes to fix up any glaring errors. But where possible, control your environment. And in the past, people say get a better microphone, get better lighting. Who cares about lighting, right? I'm in the outdoor sport, right? I can't control the sun. So my lighting, I basically have good enough. If it's good enough, then great. I don't care about the perfect light. I don't care about green screen or having the right makeup on my face. I used to do theatre, so I'm used to having makeup on my face. That's completely fine. But in the end, the people who watch aren't looking for perfect, high quality, high production. They're looking for something practical. We're an outdoor sport mostly. Even indoor, we're in a range. I'm not going to set up lights or green screen to do archery tutorials. I don't need to. You know, you watch my videos. I mean, they work fine as it is. You have a target in the background. You see me shooting. Who cares about having a green screen having the perfect production value? But the opportunity to do so. For me, the way I make my videos is meant to be sustainable. Considering I have a full-time job, which works overtime a lot, 'cause I'm a bloody teacher, then it makes sense for me to make videos in a way that is easy to put together. So I minimize the production value. I don't do a lot of setup. So that way I can go to my club, film something, and edit it that night and get it out to you next day, rather than having a very high quality production value. Let's see. Why don't we live in a world where archery stuff makers send people like your stuff? Yes, they do. That's why I have Mandarin Duck on the line. That's why I have Nika Archery sending me stuff. The thing is that a lot of the major archery companies don't need to. For things like most hobbies, whether it's tabletop gaming or just gaming, it was what was I? The thing with with sitting reviews, like, you know, makeup is a good example. Like a lot of the other industries and hobbies and businesses, they have more at stake, so they can get people like me as influencers to highlight or spotlight or review their products, and that's a mutual understanding. Archery is a bit behind the times, I think. And as it is, a lot of other archery companies are basically either having no promotion or going professional only. So, for example, why would Hoyt want to send me a bow to review? Although Hoyt probably would, if I asked him, they'd probably send me one, right? Win and win, maybe not so much, but Hoyt maybe they would. So that's why, like, at the moment, you have companies like Mandarin Duck who are all over me because they recognize the need to promote themselves in the current market, because they have zero presence in the Western world apart from people who bought early. So you send me a Mandarin Duck Phantom, you've got, you know, business. You've got 10,000 people watching the video who will go, oh, I'll try and buy one. And a lot of people already have. Small indie company Hoyt grows in popularity following glowing reviews by Aussie YouTube influencers. There you go. I mean, I think the closest thing was when Three Rivers partnered with me. They sent me the Sammy Sage. That's my idea, by the way. That was hilarious. So, like, Three Rivers, Jonathan at Three Rivers, legendary guy, he emailed me saying, you know, we love your stuff, we want to work with you. But of course, Three Rivers, they do traditional archery. At the time, I was only an Olympic shooter. So I said, oh, you know, I don't really should trade. And I said, I give them like different ideas. Like, either give me a new product to review, you can you know, sponsor me but give me a traditional bow and I'll buy your stuff from me from then on. And my idea was that this is the idea. I want an April Fool's video where I review a Sammy Sage. So I said, I'll make two videos. I'll make a joke one and then I'll make a real one, because people want to know about the Sammy Sage. And Jonathan loved the idea. So Three Rivers officially basically sponsored me for the April Fool's video. And that was like the best, one of the best videos I've made, was that April Fool's video. And then I made the real reveal a week afterwards. So that they loved the idea. And it was really cool. I mean, Three Rivers doesn't need promoting. They're like the biggest like trad shop in like America. So really cool. But yeah, not many shops do so. I've had Archery, Three Rivers Archery. I've had some online outlets like huntingbow.com. They offered to send me a bow to review. It was the News New Bow, the one where I do the stupid crap like falling over target and the Lars Anderson kind of thing. The one where I shot 100 aspirants. That one. I'm sure you know what it is. Yeah, so I've had other businesses like online stores, especially because they want to have more publicity. I've had Archery Supplies, the one with the one with the YouTube channel. They sent me gears, but they offered me a partnership. So I said, just give me a fiberglass bow, just for fun. And I made a video on that. But yeah, like some local shops will, but I find that, I don't know, like most shops in my experiences, don't really have an online presence or footprint. So they're not as much. I don't find they're as keen to work with influencers because one, it's their business. They don't need to work with influencers. And for manufacturers, I find that again they're more relying on professional avenues, and the YouTube scene for archery reviews or YouTubers or influencers is quite small. Again, when you look at things like games or makeup or clothing, there's a huge amount of influence that is possible. Someone can review a game positively, and then the sales go through the roof. Then someone plays Sea of Thieves, and you realize the game's really crap and boring, so people don't buy it. So it's do or die for online influencers. Archery is not dependent on the online world. Is there opportunity? Yes. But because traditionally it's always been brick and mortar shop, and only recently it's been more of an online thing, then very few businesses or companies are recognizing the need to get people on board. Okay? There is so much opportunity. That's why, again, I'm not gonna beg people to send me products, but when a company like Nika or Mandarin Duck want me to review a bow, they'll send me the bow. It's low cost for them, but they will make so much more in revenue from future sales. You're future-proofing a product. And here's the thing, because right now there are so few reviews, and you have certain major people who could potentially take it off, then you could have a chance. But like I said, there aren't many large archery channels. The compound and hunting tend to be larger, but what about recurve? What about trad? What about Eastern style? There aren't any big channels apart from myself. I guess there's World Archery and there's myself. Apart from other companies, what else is there? Even Grizzly might be like he's like the biggest like Western traditional archer, but he's only 11,000 subscribers. That is a pittance compared to major influencers, and that's why it's very it's not very lucrative for a company to send a product to a new person. Once more businesses or marketing departments or sales departments start realizing that there is an opportunity out there, that for example this one guy who's doing bow reviews has enough influence to actually get a product launched, that's when they'll start going, we want to give you a bow, we want you to try this bow. But until then, instead of reviewing the latest, like, Hoyt recurve or Winningen recurve, I am instead reviewing Mandarin Duck products because it's a Chinese companies who have less to lose. Send me stuff to use. Anyway, that was a bit of a long diatribe there, but hopefully that was interesting for you. As Play Hunter said, a small pond, but I'm the megalodon, if you will. The big fish in a small pond. It is my desire to see more people make archery channels. I don't just want to be the only one making content. I want to slow down one day. I want to pull the plug and say, I want to focus on what I want to do. So I don't want to have this like pressure just to make videos. It's why people like Armin, who are making videos for thumb draw especially, are just so useful. The growth is there. I mean, Justin Ma has made a few videos, but he's not a YouTuber. He just makes some stuff for his for his Manchu archery, Yao Ming, Gao Ming style, Gao Ying, sorry. But yeah, like they're just like archery in general has a low profile on YouTube. Look, in comparison, this is such a good it's a good tangent here, but here's the thing, like archery is very fragmented, but let me try and find something here. I'm typing one hand, it's kind of awkward. I can't type properly, but I'll mention this. Yes, that's what I want to look at. So the World Archery YouTube channel, just by itself, is 109,000 viewers. Sorry, subscribers, right? If you look at this is the reality. This is the World Archery Federation, the global body, the largest representative body for archery. They're the ones who do the Olympic Games and the World Championships. There are other international bodies and things like that, but the World Archery Federation has 109,000 subscribers and a lot of views because it's main events. But that's the thing, 109,000. That is, for a YouTube channel, quite small. And remember, I'm on 72,000. I'm only like a bit behind World Archery. And like, think about it, like they were small when I started doing archery. They were small when I started doing YouTube. They've always been ahead of me, right? But here's the thing, I'm basically at this point directly increasing. I'm directly competing against World Archery. It's why they work with me now. It's like, hey, can you make a video for us? Yeah, sure, definitely. I have to do so. I mean, I don't see it as a competition. But the funny thing is that I'm now at the level where I'm just below the World Archery Federation. Holy crap, right? I'm just a teacher in Melbourne doing archery on a weekend, and now I'm basically almost as big, if not bigger in some ways, than the Archery Federation. Shalasa, how did you get that sudden increase? It was the bow video. There are two. I'll happily go through my stats, by the way, for those who are interested in the back end of YouTube and making YouTube channels. I know this has gone away from form checks, but for those who are still here, this is really fascinating because I want to show this to you in more detail. Thank you to, I mean, YouTube shows this, but I think Social Blade has a better view here. So I'll show you my summary of what's happened up to this point. So this is the thing. So in case of where it came from, there are probably there's this one here. All right. So before, my graph was a lot more readable because I didn't have this gigantic spike. Yeah, I'll mention this a bit later. Okay, so I'd probably average around like 100 a day. I mean, up to this point, about 30 per day. There's about 100 per day afterwards. But okay, so I'll explain where things jumped. Okay. This is where the spikes come from. I might have to cut this out somehow, right? Can I, whoops, can I undo that? Where's the undo button? No. Whoops, can I change that? Let's just refresh that. Okay, I can explain. Alright, so this part over here, this jump here, I can tell you what this is. This is December of 2015. That's my first spike. I got, it wasn't like 500 in a day, and it went to like, yeah, this one spike, from what I recall and what I believe, is the first Lars Anderson video. that's probably the first jump. So where was I? Yeah, so that was Lars Anderson, a new level archery. That was the first spike. Then it went pretty stable. And then we get to around 2017 here. And what was this video? The next Lars Anderson video. A one thermos archery plus a strict shooting video. So that was the second spike. But it wasn't much either, right? So a lot of people saying that, no, Lars Anderson is why you have so many subs. No, actually, I went viral without Lars. That was afterwards, right? So this is actually the idea of having like Lars Anderson. Lars has not increased my channel views in general. Okay, so I missed that point there. Back to here. So the second spike, which is in 2017, this part here, that was the second Lars Anderson video. Okay, so in my opinion, from what I found, most of my views do not come from Lars Anderson. So he has some influence. I'm saying he has no influence, but most people will watch him for entertainment, not for the sport. So there's a very small amount of trickle. Now, the last thing is this gigantic streak here. What the hell happened here? I've gone from like 100 a day to 50 a day to suddenly, bloody hell, 2,000 in a day, and it goes on for a few more weeks. Like, it goes on. So this part here was a huge spike in views and subs. You can see here as well in all my stats. This is bizarre. Why? It was because of that weird, sorry, let's show you. So this thing here, this spike in November and December of 2017, just last year, you can see it here and here and here and here. Why is that? That was the Olympic swing video. That was for whatever reason, this video, this one here went viral. This one became recommended on everyone's playlist. Whether you're a gamer, you're watching a random TV show, it went crazy. It went viral. Okay, so that is why we had this jump. So in the course of around a month, I probably jumped up around 10,000 subscribers in about a month. Normally it's around 1,000 a month. It went to like 10 times that in 1 month. That's why it happened. It wasn't Lars Anderson. It was actually a video which happened to pop up on YouTube's algorithm. And in this case, it wasn't a bad video. People enjoyed it. So this is what I mean by the potential to make archery mainstream. The potential for archery to reach the masses. That is what we're talking about. Most archery videos only cater to the current community, whereas the future of archery is the future community. I made a video which wasn't just interesting to current archers, but also short enough and to the point where people who weren't archers learned something. And some people argue and say, oh, it's really fake and so on. I don't care about that. Those are haters, right? But for most people who are watching, they learned something new and they thought it was really cool. So, and remember, this is an Olympic archery video that went viral. In a non-Olympic year. Normally, the Olympic Games bring some interest, but can you imagine in 2020, in the next Olympic Games, and people watch archery TV, everything they'll ask, I've already covered in my other Olympic videos, on my other video here. So more and more people will see this, and again, we see this huge growth. So I feel that in terms of YouTube, there aren't many people, and there aren't enough people who are really demonstrating that it is viable to make archery-specific niche content and get away with it. That's why not many businesses, not many manufacturers will jump on board with archery YouTube channels because there isn't much out there. When World Archery is just making stuff, to promote itself and do live stream its events, that's one thing. But there's literally nobody else apart from me who is really making it big on YouTube. And even like financially wise, career wise, I mean, I probably earn enough just from YouTube alone to supplement my income and therefore work part-time if I really wanted to, and there might be an option in the future. But for most people, it's very hard to make YouTube work. So you need a lot of persistence and you need a lot of creativity to do it well. Okay, yeah, just going back to some chat. The big problem is the lack of publicity. I agree. That's something I said in my feedback to the state association as well. I feel that there is very little publicity. People just don't know about archery, especially when we surrounded by so many sports like football and cricket and other major team sports. Archery is a unique sport that is underrepresented. People drive past and don't know we're there. And there isn't enough from like a state association or national association to expand the market. It's like the current communications and publicity are aimed towards current archers, not new archers. And that's, I think, a bit of a mistake there, I feel. There can be more done to increase. I mean, look, like, it's funny how, like, no official organization except World Archery acknowledges what I do. Now, I'm not saying you should watch my videos. Some clubs will promote me very openly, whether university clubs or sports clubs. They'll say, watch this guy. And people talk to me and say, can I use your videos? Sure, it's completely fine. But it's funny how it's so slow for other organizations to come on board. And the funny thing is, again, I have more respect and publicity from World Archery than I do from Archery Australia. My own archery association does very little to acknowledge my existence and my work. In some ways, I'm a bit of a rogue, because I do things so publicly and for free. And World Archery likes me. They want me on board. Whereas Australia doesn't. So we have this really weird situation where, like there's very little publicity. You're right. Tyson's a good question again. So would it be a good idea to put archery videos on my main channel? This depends on where you want to take your channel, alright? If you're treating it like a true business, where you want to market to hell and back and make money from it and get publicity, an archery only channel is going to get more attention. Good example, look at the top 30 list, right? I was left off the list. I wasn't an archery channel. And honestly, I don't consider myself to be an archery channel. Not NUSensei as an archery channel. NUSensei is my channel. I put what I want to put on there. You know, I made the channel originally as a blogging channel. It went to gaming, and now it's archery. The plus side, the downside is that I've got a very mixed audience. So I can't guarantee like 10,000 views on one video. That's okay. On the plus side, I'm not bound to make one type of content. So I don't have to make gaming content. I don't have to make archery content. I can make whatever I want because it's my channel. It is my playground. So if my viewers will watch what I make, it's about me, not what I do. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. So you could do what I do and make a channel based around yourself. But if you want to make a channel specifically for archery, you will attract a different audience. So which one's better? It depends on what you want to do, right? You could have if your main channel is open enough for you to do different things, then sure. Okay, good example of this, big picture, Lindy Beige. So Lloyd from Lindy Beige, his main appeal is history. But he makes like videos on ballroom dancing, and that's completely fine. It's his channel. His channel isn't specifically a history channel. He is well known for history, but it's not specifically a history channel. See? In contrast, you have things like Matt Easoms from Scholar Galatoria. He mostly only does historical videos and fencing, but he also does history videos. So there is some kind of overlap there, okay? So it depends on what you want to do. If you're going to make a channel where you have a main focus and do something else, that's fine. But if you want to make a specialized channel for archery only, that's fine as well. But remember what I said, right? Archery is very niche. It's not very mainstream. It's very hard to find archery content. And now, ironically, some of the best content is made from a channel that is not specifically archery. So people are always surprised that I play games or I play War Thunder or something, because I was never originally an archery channel. World Archery is trying to get more community involvement. That's what I got from the communications director at World Archery. They want to do more community projects. It's still very pro focus, which makes sense. But yeah, they want to show more people. The problem is that, well, World Archery isn't that big an organization. So, you know, again, this is World Archery. And then you go down to, like, national or state or local. Then you have a different problem where they just don't have the resources or the equipment or the people to promote the sport. That's why what I do, I think, is very important for the sport. I'm not saying I'm like the cause of like a growth in archery, but the fact that you have so many resources available on my channel means that more people are more tempted to go out and shoot and try archery. I've been to other archery clubs where the beginners want to learn about NUSensei. They want to know what they want to find out where he is because they want to learn from him. So more and more people in this current generation of come and tries and new archers have likely seen NUSensei. And that's a big deal. It used to be like Lars Anderson or Lord of the Rings or Brave or something, right? There's now more and more people have bothered to Google or YouTube archery and they find my materials, and then they come to archery feeling more prepared and they feel less embarrassed. So in some ways, what I do has been instrumental in a lot of clubs getting more people to come in, and a lot of clubs embrace that and promote that, and it works well that way. And I don't care if it's me or somebody else making it. As long as that stuff is out there, then that the sport will grow. You can imagine if nobody made YouTube videos. There's no Grizzly Jim or no Grey Arch or anybody else. If there's nobody, then the sport will stagnate, right? But this is the way of 21st century. More people will share what they do, their interests, their hobbies, their passions on media that is more accessible. And that's the reason why what I do is very important. Okay, I think that will end my little rant there. The first 2 hours have been like form checks, but this is a good Q&A. Last questions. When I use my sling, my bow always goes back when I let my bow. When you're using your bowstring, Akmal, check that the string loops are correctly in place. The reason that the bow the string can come back and string the bow backwards is because the string loop has slipped. So make sure that when you put the bow stringer on, that the loop is correctly on the edge. I'll show you. So when you do this, make sure that these loops are properly in place and that the stringer hasn't tangled it and slipped it off. If you string it and the loop is in the wrong position, it will flip the other side. Okay, so make sure that it's correctly in the right place. That is the likely cause. Just also point out that you know, even in real life, by the way, it's very hard to find people who are coaches or instructors who have the right skill set or the right personality or the right experience to teach archery. That's something different as well. As a teacher, I'll say the same thing. Not everyone has the right skill set to be a teacher, and not everyone has the right skill set to be a coach, and not everyone has the right skill set to be an online persona where they can teach and instruct. These are many different levels of teaching which go beyond what you normally see. Will I ever go to Adelaide? Well, eventually, I don't see why not, right? I don't see why I would not go to Adelaide. At the moment, I don't do a lot of traveling because I just like working and I just like doing my thing. But I assume there'll be reasons for me to go to Adelaide. For example, if there's a national championship, I might head down there. You know, things like the match play. Once I get good enough and I feel confident enough, then I'll go and travel and shoot more. Not just in Australia, but in other countries as well. So it is not unlikely. That's my answer. Phew. Thanks, Kevin, for joining us. It is 12:30 now. It is an archery day today, so I'm supposed to head out in about 10 hours to train the new guys, and there'll be a shoot this afternoon, which I'll be looking forward to. Otherwise, what do we think? I'll be done, guys. That was a great stream. Holy crap, that was a live stream, all right? I hope you enjoyed that. That was a very long talk, but I hope you found that helpful in some way. Those who volunteered for the video form checks, hopefully you got something out of that, and those who've just been listening for the last hour for me ranting about YouTube and coaching, hopefully you found it interesting as well, because there's a lot to go through there. But I really did enjoy this stream. This was something a bit more. It's kind of like the archery deep and meaningful conversation which people want. But yeah, thank you for joining me again. Do remember to check out the fundraiser by Jara Conte. Again, he's my former student who has qualified for the under 20 World Championships in Finland. So if you have a few spare dollars, send some, or whatever, krona or euro, send some his way. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. I'll definitely appreciate it. Again, as a teacher, it is kind of my pride to really showcase the people who work hard and really make it. So again, this is Jara. He's a legend. Hopefully he gets a chance to achieve his dreams. So if you've got a chance to donate something and you don't want to donate to me, send to him instead. I really look forward to doing that as well. So thank you a lot to well, thanks a lot for everyone for joining me. Again, well, next time I tend to do these form checks when I reach a critical point. Like when I get 2 or 3 people sending me videos, I'll do my next form check stream. Although that said, it is the end of the month, right? So we'll do our Q&A perhaps next week. So next weekend we'll organize our April Q&A, and then afterwards when people do form checks, I'll do them as I go along. Okay. So again, thank you to everyone for joining in. It's been a pleasure. And once again, I've rehearsed this. I'm not going to prematurely cut my stream. Thank you all for joining me. This is NUSensei. I thought I rehearsed it. This is NUSensei, and I'll see you next time.